Mitsubishi and Nissan. These are two car companies that are not doing well. Mitsubishi was hit hard in 2008 during the financial crisis. Their cousin, not related to them, but, in terms of size and location, Suzuki, their general partner, neighbor, Suzuki, fell into the sinkhole that was the financial crisis. They couldn't get out. In 2012, they left the United States altogether. The message was clear for Mitsubishi, and they got rid of a bunch of their cars. They got rid of the Galant, the Lancer, everything that made Mitsubishi, even the Eclipse. And then they came out with the Outlander Sport, and that just saved them. Everyone loved the Sport. The Sport was cheap. People loved to pay for it. It was great. It was a fantastic car. They loved it. Nissan right now is kind of dealing with the 2008 financial crisis, but just really long, really delayed. People aren't buying their cars, they're not making a lot of money, they don't have enough money to update the cars, and it's a cycle. If you don't have enough money to update the cars, people don't want to buy the cars because they don't look updated. So it's just this big death spiral that Nissan's in at the moment. So they're both kind of dying next to each other, but finally, Nissan has decided to pull their head out, and so is Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi's actually doing pretty well. So Mitsubishi's saying, why don't we restore ourselves to our pre-2008 glory? Why don't we bring the Eclipse back for some fun? Why don't we bring back some of these legacy models that we had to kill off, that we wanted to be part of the brand, for our original brand identity image that could still work in 2024, that worked way back in 2008 to save us from the financial crisis? Why don't we bring that back? And Nissan is saying, well, if people aren't buying our expensive cars, why don't we just focus on what matters? Why don't we make a bunch of small cars? So Nissan has become the line of $30,000. They said, you want $30,000, we want all of our cars, or at least most of them, or just to have a solid lineup of cars under $30,000. So they're going to be focusing on cheap cars. And believe it or not, these two cars are also incredibly similar because they're the only two car companies that still made a cheap car as of 2025. Now, they've both killed it off as of 2026. I think they should bring it back, and I'm going to bring it back, since technically the entire idea of this is that I'm CEO and I can do whatever I want. So, of course, I bring the Mirage and the Versa back, but we'll get into that later. But essentially, Nissan wants more small cars, and their neighbor is Mitsubishi, who has a long history of making excellent small little cars, small engines, and doing stuff cheaply. That's an excellent partner to learn from. Mitsubishi needs cars. They just need a lot of cars. They're like a cross-country runner who needs meets. They just need to race more. They need to get out more. That's Mitsubishi, and they're sitting next to Nissan, who has essentially, their problem is they have too many cars on the lot. They have too many models, too much variety. That's the opposite of Mitsubishi's problem. So being strategic partners is perfect for them, because Nissan can use Mitsubishi's small car knowledge to make more small cars, and even just, Nissan, very big company, overseas, they have a lot of models that they don't sell here, and I can't figure out why, so we're going to be bringing a lot of those models to the United States. Nissan has the cars to make this small car plan happen. Mitsubishi has Nissan, and if Nissan is using the Outlander, I didn't mention this, the Outlander is going to be rebadged as the all-new Nissan Rogue, I always say MPV, it's the PZEV, no, the plug-in hybrid Rogue, essentially, is going to be the Outlander. That signals a lot of trust, because Mitsubishi's biggest, most expensive car, the top-of-the-line model, is the Outlander. So if they're allowing Nissan to use that, that kind of gives me an idea of where the relationship is between the two car companies, and I'm going to feel very comfortable modifying the layout and what I'm going to do. So let's just start. Who should we start with, Nissan or Mitsubishi? I'm going to rebadge cars. I'm going to bring cars over from overseas. How about we start with Nissan? Okay, so this is just the lineup as we have it now. So I made a little naming change here that I'm going to stick with for the rest of the video. So the weird thing is, the car called the Toronto? We don't currently have that in the United States. We do, but it's called the Kicks. And there's this weird thing where they have the Kicks, the Nissan Kicks, and then the Nissan Kicks Play. Play is just a horrible name. There's only one trim level for the Nissan Kicks Play, even though I know that they could make more because the tooling for that factory is still open. So it's kind of this weird thing. Nissan's trying to put a stopgap before they can come out with new models with the Nissan Kicks Play. So in order to just spare them having to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. We're going to rename the current Nissan Kicks the Toronto, a name that is stolen from the 1990s Nissan SUV, which I like it because it's kind of like Murano, so you have the Murano, the Rogue, and the Toronto. The Toronto is also Terra. That's the name for Earth with fancy sciencey people, if you didn't know that. So it sounds kind of off-roady. Teenagers are going to like that when they want a cheap car. And then we might as well just rename the Kicks Play the Kicks, because the Kicks was never a good name. It's not like there's any great brand recognition there. It's just a mediocre, kind of fun, cool, modern, teen-sounding Zoomer name. So there's no use in keeping that around, it's not important that we keep that model strong. So we could just rename the Kicks Play to the Kicks. We can bring the old trim levels back, and we can just not change it. You want to know it? Obviously, Nissan is not happy with the sales of the new kicks, otherwise they wouldn't bring the old kicks back. So why not just bring the old kicks back, called the kicks? Now, I hate the name, but, we're telling Nissan to do a lot of things. So why not just leave it like that? We also have the Nissan Versa. I hate to break it to them, but the Versa, it's staying, okay? The Versa is a great car. We have all the tooling there. Why would we kill it off when sales are just starting to spike in 2025? The Sentra, they just redid the Sentra. That was a very good choice, not going to touch the Sentra. Altima, we're going to keep the Altima around. The Altima is selling. People like the Altima. People want to pay for the Altima, so that's important. Now let's get into cars that I would steal from other places and from around the world. Alright, well, let's get into the cars that I'd bring over from other markets. First is the Nissan Juke. They sell it in Australia, they sell it in a lot of other foreign markets, and trust me, Nissan, even though it's a Japanese car company, is still very American. So I'm sure if we did a little bit of lobbying, we could get around those tariffs just fine and import it into the United States if we really need it. I believe they even sell it in Mexico. Most American companies make their cars in Mexico anyway, so if we can get it in Canada and Mexico, we can get it in the United States, which we would also do too if it's not sold there already. I know it's sold in Australia and Europe. And the Nissan Qashqai. This is a car that was just redone for 2025, so that's great. We don't need to touch it. 2026 will be fine. New for the American market. Qashqai, it's spelled like Q-A-I-S-A. It's spelled weird, and United States, the U.S., would never be able to pronounce it, so I'm just going to call it the Kai. I mean, whatever. If we're using trendy Zoomer names already, we might as well use that. Then we're going to bring over the Mitsubishi the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. Now, why? Because brand unification. We can have the Nissan Rogue and the Nissan Outlander, which are both viewed as equals on the public, and Nissan is leaning more into off-roading, while Mitsubishi is leaning more into being economical. So they're not going to interfere with each other as much as you think that they would, and then this also means that we can have a Rogue Sport and an Outlander Sport. Now, why would you want a Rogue Sport? Well, because a lot of the teachers and people who bought the Rogue have now been priced out of it because of the latest redesign. So why not just rebadge the Eclipse Sport as a Rogue Sport? People would buy it. It's fun, trendy, good for leases. It's essentially just the new Nissan Altima, except it's an SUV. And the Mitsubishi Mirage, we bring that over. Now, why would we want the Mirage? Well, first of all, we need to create a platform. We need to create a modular small car, something that Nissan and Mitsubishi are very good at. Now, also, why use the Mirage? First of all, starting with a car is always going to be easier than developing and engineering your own car. Also, Mitsubishi literally just stopped making the Mirage about a month ago. So there's factories, probably even still workers on retainer, that are willing to make cars, that know how to make this car, and there is tooling for this car and blueprints for this car and everything. So why not just reuse this car? So with that, I'm going to introduce you to the models that, I would introduce as a result of having this. And also, for the weird, I forgot what I called it. You'll find out when I show you it integrated into the website and stuff, or at least their style. The Mitsubishi Mirage is going to have a wagon and a ute. Now, why is that important? Well, for a wagon, it's a ute. That would be really easy to make into a wagon. If it's already going to have 4 doors, just put a sedan, put some ute parts on it, and slap a back on it. That'd be fine. People would love that. You'd have more space in the back, and people wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a hatchback. And if we don't call it a wagon, they're never going to know. I hate to spoil that to you, but trust me, the public, they're too stupid to figure that out. And the ute, people love utes. People really do love utes. I think if we made a small ute, Nissan did, it would sell extremely well. Look at the Ford Maverick. It's essentially just an EcoSport with the back cut off. People love that thing. It's cheap. You can have a hybrid. People would love that. A small little truck are very popular in America nowadays, and the demand for them is very high, with people even importing K cars from halfway across the world just to get that small trunk feel, or at least Japan, which is, if you're looking at a conventional map, all the way across the world, but not really if you actually, use some context. So with that, let's look at the cars that I would actually create, with these cars. And, well, here we are. First of all, look at that Rogue Sport. You cannot tell me that there's a lot of teenagers who are just buying a car for the first time, have the name recognition of the Rogue, and yet would like a smaller size, would not absolutely eat that thing up. It'd be great. The Juke, it's not as obnoxious as the previous Juke, and the old Juke actually sold pretty well. Nissan just didn't feel like updating it, didn't feel like bringing it to the United States. Well, now we need to, because we need the sales. Perfect, bring it back. The Kai, it's a fine car. We don't need to make it in high production units. I don't expect it to sell that well. That's okay. And the all-new Nissan, forgot the name of it. We'll find the name out soon. That car. Here's the thing. I made the styling intentionally older. See, isn't this the joys of having a landline at your house? I love having a landline at my house, especially when I'm filming. I'm not going to cut it out, whatever. The joys of having that and having it be older Nissan styling is that, first of all, it's an entirely new car. People haven't seen this before. People have seen the Rogue, they've seen the Juke, and the Qashqai is basically just a Leaf, but Nissan-y. But this new car is an all-new car. So by using older Nissan styling, we get people to think, associate it with Nissan's history. It's more of a Nissan than Nissan is. You know what I'm saying? Like, they warm up to it faster if it's something that they know, rather than switching it over to the new design language and it being like a crab to a dog. Like, what is this thing? Also, just look at it. You cannot tell me that wouldn't sell well to rental fleets, that people wouldn't buy that up like crazy, that reviewers wouldn't love that teens, that these jobless people, where they put the little asterisk with the O because job is a slur and stuff, you can tell me that those people wouldn't love a small little car that you can bop around with. Teachers that just need something to drive around. Florists in their small local business who don't buy Ford Transit Connects anymore because they don't make them anymore. Perfect. Get the Ute. Really, and it wouldn't be that much work either. All we need to do is modify the existing Mitsubishi Mirage enough, make it look like a Nissan, and then slap whatever we want on the back there. Like, make it modular enough to be able to do that, and we'll be fine. Essentially, 2 models. There's the wagon and the Ute, which are based on one car, and then the regular sedan, which is just a rebadged Mirage. Great. Love it. Beautiful. And here we are. I decided to go with the name Micra for the smaller car because Micra's, it's a historic Nissan name. I like historic names. I think that's great. We'd also bring back the Versa Note. It's really easy. Just put a hatchback on the sedan and we'd call it a hatchback. That'd be great. Since we need a hatchback small car, we might as well just keep the Versa around anyway. And the Juke. And also look at the prices. I've adjusted the prices for what they would probably be like in other countries and what they'd be like here. And, it's kind of perfect. If you want something really cheap, get the Kicks. If you want something a little bit more expensive, get the Toronto. If you want something a little bit higher than that, get the Juke, then the Kai, then the Rogue Sport, then the Rogue, then the Murano, so you climb up the ladder. And every single car company, they just don't understand this. Now, I get that financially, it's probably not the best thing to do, but it's not going to sink a car company, is they don't understand that they can make cars in smaller quantities than, massive amounts of quantities. So if the Micra Plus, I like the name Plus because it doesn't say that it's a wagon, so people just think it's a hatchback with, a little bit of extra butt on it. If they don't sell well, you don't have to discontinue them because all that does is make your car company look like dreary, like the lights are on and no one's home, like there's no actual cars being sold here. So just by keeping these names alive, like this is a way, I think personally, other people may disagree with me, a way more alive Nissan, history, Nissan lineup than was before. And by the addition of new cars and the addition of cars that were killed off before, like the Juke, the Kai, they introduced the Nissan Kicks, they got away with that. I'm sure we could get away with Kai. And the Micra, people know the Micra. Maybe not super well here in the States, but, it's a name. The Nissan Micra sounds like a feasible product, and it doesn't look too different from what we've seen for the past few years. So overall, I love this new Nissan lineup. Now moving over to Mitsubishi. Okay, we are just going to take it and we're just going to run away. We're taking the Nissan Z, the Nissan Sentra, the Nissan Altima, and the Nissan Pathfinder. Now, here's my justification. First of all, the Nissan Z. It hasn't sold incredibly well, and if we change it up enough, it won't even compete with the Nissan Z. Trust me, people are going to really want the Mitsubishi. And we could even cut Nissan in on it. We could pay them for using it, which is what most car companies do anyways. So it's not like Nissan's not getting anything out of it. Hey, right now, Nissan is stealing 3 of our cars. They're taking the Outlander Sport, the Outlander, and the Mirage. So if they're doing that, 3 of our best-selling cars, we can take 4 of their cars. It works out about the same. The Pathfinder. If I said we were taking the Honda Pilot, that'd be different than the Pathfinder. Let's be honest. No one, when they think of Nissan, thinks of the Pathfinder. When you think of Toyota, the epitome of Toyota, it's probably like the Land Cruiser. When you think of the epitome of Honda, it's probably the Pilot. When you think of the epitome of Nissan, it's like, I don't know, the Altima or like the Versa or something. Definitely not the Pathfinder. No, I think it could be the Armor Rack or whatever they call it, that big, gigantic, hideous refrigerator on wheels, turning in my, grandparents. The Pathfinder, it's just kind of like the Highlander. It's fine. It's a fine car. Mitsubishi could really use it. It'd be nice. Taking the Ultimate of Mitsubishi, Nissan doesn't want it. They're trying to kill it off. So if they really hate it that much, just give it to Mitsubishi. If there's a factory, just retool the front. Boom, you're done. And for the Nissan Versa, the Sentra, Nissan just redid it, okay? We can just take the non-redid version and just take that and run away with it. So, and I'm not even going to tell you the names of what the cars are going to be. Well, I will in the next slide, but not right now. But just think about what I could possibly do with this arrangement of 4 automobiles. And how much would the addition of these 4 automobiles to Mitsubishi's lineup help? Also, think about the ratio here. We're taking 4 of Nissan's, 12 vehicles? They're taking 3 out of 4 cars that Mitsubishi makes. That isn't like a do-over or copy. So, they're taking more from us than we're really taking from them. And also, Mitsubishi's never going to sell as well as Nissan. They're just never going to. So we're never going to be a serious market threat to Nissan ever if we play our cards right. But just think about adding twice the number of cars to Mitsubishi. What could that do for the brand? And also, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you're diluting Mitsubishi by adding Nissans. Mitsubishi has just been Nissan in a trench coat forever. The entire Mavic engines, the World engines, all the engines essentially have been co-developed with Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi has been using Jadco CVTs, or at least they tried for a little bit there. Again, that's a Nissan technology. So a lot of the engines in the Nissan Rogue and stuff like that were developed, or at least co-developed with Mitsubishi. Well, here we are. We're bringing back the Mitsubishi Endeavor. This was a car that they launched in 2004, and then as soon as the economic crisis of 2008 happened, they had to kill it off. Very sad, and it was great. It had a third row, so bring it back. That'd be great. And the best part is, the split headlights and everything, it essentially already looks like a Mitsubishi Endeavor, and no one's going to notice or care or probably buy it that much. But it is going to be nice to have a car in the Mitsubishi family that can be kind of bigger. We can even call it the Pajero if some people... That was a terrible pronunciation. Oh, people are going to get mad about that. We could even call it, another foreign, more Middle Eastern name if people would prefer that. We'll do the research, or they'll do the research because they're not paying me for this. You better pay me, Mitsubishi, if you decide to do this. It's a joke, but seriously, do. But that's a joke, but do. And the Mitsubishi Galant, the Ultima would make a great Galant. The Galant it was a great car. It blew smoke on Australian roads, reliably blew smoke for 35 years. It's a great car. It was a fine car. I remember there was this lady named Brenda. She had a bunch of cats. She had a purple one. That car was fine, lasted forever. It's a fine car. And I also like how the more luxurious of the Mitsubishi cars have kind of the same front end with the split headlights and everything. I don't really like that styling or that design, but, it works well in this case. And we're bringing back, finally, the Mitsubishi. I always forget the name of it, so we'll move on. It's the sporty one. The Lancer. We're bringing back the Lancer. I can never remember the name for that thing. It's been so long in my heart. It's still there, but I keep forgetting the name of it. So yeah, the Lancer will be brought back. You can put in Evo. People would love that. The Mirage. Give it 5 lug nuts and some decent wheels, and look at her. She cleans up real nice. Also give it new door handles, but only for the driver and passenger because, the far door, we don't need to, redesign too much. Just give it some new wheels, redesign the front end a little bit, just to make it look neat a little bit, and then that's pretty much all we need to do. And then the all-new Mitsubishi Eclipse. The Eclipse Cross feels like it needs a counterpart, and this is great. Also, you notice that Mitsubishi logo you have in the front on that little hump there, that's a reference to the last generation, or what would be the last generation, of the Mitsubishi Eclipse. So it essentially has the similar proportions to the last generation of the Mitsubishi Eclipse, or at least similar styling, but it's modern. It has an almost light bar broken with the Mitsubishi logo. It's not too modern, yet it's not too unmodern, and it's based off the Nissan Z. I have no issue with this. Let's look at how the website would look. And look at that family. Look at how well it ties together. You have the Endeavor, which is bigger than the Outlander. And then you can go to the Outlander PHEV. Again, the same car as the Outlander. We could just remove the PHEV and replace it with the Endeavor. Just make it an option. Mitsubishi right now only sells 3 cars. They're becoming Chrysler now. So this would really help out the brand. Having the Eclipse and the Eclipse Cross and them looking similar while being different cars would really help out. Having the Mirage around, that thing... It'd be great. I've also adjusted the Lancer and Eclipse prices and Galant prices to what the Nissan equivalent is, and we could really cheap out the Eclipse on the lower trim levels, because a lot of teens would love that. The Galant, more luxurious. Again, this would, right now, the Japanese auto industry and the Japanese side of the American auto industry is carving itself like a puzzle piece, and this would fit perfectly. We have Toyota, who's off in no man's land, doesn't know what they're doing. The Highlander is becoming an all-EV with only 6 seats. How great would it be if Mitsubishi launched an Endeavor with 8 seats to swoop in all the buyers, the lost Toyota buyers who want a reliable Japanese SUV that don't want an EV that's useless with only 6 seats? How great would it be if now that Toyota stopped making the Yaris and Honda stopped making the Fit, that Mitsubishi and Nissan swoop in with the Mirage and the other one that I can't remember the name of, because, I literally made it up, not the name, but, the car itself. how great would it be if they swoop up and stole all of those sales numbers too? The RAV4 and the CR-V, they're huge, and they're expensive. How great would it be, again, if they swooped in with the sports, the Rogue Sport and the Outlander Sport, and swooped up those buyers? And I could see Mitsubishi buyers warming to Nissan buyers, and even if they don't, that would be fine. They don't have to. The Lancer, that'd be great for teens to drive around in. For Brenda, she would love to have her Galant back with all those cats and the cigarettes, a pack a day. She'd love it. I mean, really, Toyota's off in no man's land. Kia, they're doing pretty good with the small SUVs, but I'm sure Nissan, a Japanese car company, could give the Koreans a run for their money. Really, this, I think, would complement the auto industry in the United States perfectly with the redesign of the Nissan and the Mitsubishi. So let me know what you like in the comments. Let me know how you would redo it, what changes you would make. Maybe you think this is sacrilegious. Maybe you think, oh, well, even though they've pretty much been the same since, 2008, Mitsubishi and Nissan with the CVTs and stuff, it's sacrilege and I hate it and I wouldn't do any of this. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, just like I'm entitled to mine. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I hope I didn't do any of these brands too dirty, but I really think that they could be it would be so awesome. It would be so cool if they could finally teach Toyota how to pull their head out and actually put their nose to the grindstone and make good cars. I'd love it if they did that. All right, goodbye.